Today, I will focus your physics learning process in teaching the concepts and the strategies to solve force problems. You see the car is under many forces that are acting on it. For example, in yellow, it is the motion force from left to right. In red, the friction force in opposite direction to the motion force. In green, the weight made by the gravity. In blue, the normal force made from the ground. They are going up. Finally, in violet, you see the air resistance. It is a force that is working in opposite direction to the motion force. Now I will present the freshman academic goals for the present year. Number one, increase the percent of 9th grade students moving in on to 10 grades. That means you have to pass or you have to graduate from the 9th grade. Increase the individual GPA. If you are planning to go to college, it's very important to get a higher grade in each courses that you are taking right now. Support and recognize the transition into the high school. Increase attendance and decrease behavior problems to maximize student learning. That means you have to come every day to class and you have to be focused in your learning process in order to learn and to pass the courses that you are taking right now. The content object for this lesson is to help you to relearn the strategies to solve force and gas problems presented in multiple choice questions and open response questions. For this lesson is to read and understand the physics concepts used to solve each type of question. My special recommendation for you as my Latino students is to practice the ways that I am using to solve each question, connecting the question with a physics tip that I posted in each question. The agenda for today will be focused on 11 concepts. Number 1, force. 2, newtons. 3, vector. 4, free body diagram. 5, universal gravitational force. 6, friction force. 7, distance. 8, displacement. 9, centripetal force. 10, net force. 11, motion force. Now, you have to observe the physics lab that I will do, and then you have 10 minutes to respond. How you can describe a force? How can you describe a friction? How can you describe the centripetal force? These are the cognitive words or the physics concepts. Focus in the tier number 3 words. Force, Newton's vector, free force diagram, universal gravitational force, frictional force, distance, displacement, centripetal force, net force, motion force. All these definitions you will learn and you will master at the end of this lessons plan. This is the step to solve faster the physics MCAS questions. Remember, always you have to use the 5 steps that I posted in these slides. First, identify the key questions. Second, read the problem. Third, connect the key questions with a tip. 4, solve the problems. 5, choose alternative solution. What is a force? Definition. A force is a push or pull upon an object resulting from the object's interaction with another object. In this picture, you will see the men on the left are pushing. In the right, he is pull the object. The symbol N is the units for the force. N is newtons. Then the units for force is the newtons. This is in recognize of the Isaac Newtons. What is a newton? A newton is the force needed to accelerate 1 kilogram of mass at the rate of 1 meter per second squared. In this picture, the object has a mass 1 kilogram. The force is 1 newton, but 1 newton is when 1 kilogram is moving 1 meter at the time 1 second. For example, 10 newtons you can represent 10 N. 25 newtons, 25 N. What is a vector? In physics and mathematics, any quantity with both a magnitude and a direction is a vector. For example, velocity is a vector because it describes both how fast something is moving and in what direction it is moving. You see the arrows. The arrow has the head, the tail, and the direction. Also, it has the magnitude. For example, 5 meters to north. Now, you will have the first problems. Say, which of the following examples includes a vector quantity? The key question is vector quantity. A 10 kilograms object. B, a tractor travel 12.5 meters. C, 3.5 kilograms object moving at 1.5 meters per second. And D, a car moving north at 80 kilometers per hour. My tip to respond these questions is vector has 2 components, the quantity and the direction. You have to use this tip to solve the problems. You will get your answer. The answer is D. Why? The direction is one component of the vector and the velocity is the speed with the direction. The alternative A, B, and C do not show the direction. Only the alternative D is showing the direction north with the speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Then the answer is D. What is a free body force diagram? It is a graph that is showing all forces are acting in the object. For example, you have the normal force is going up, the applying force or the motion force going to the right, the friction force going to the left, and the gravity force is going to the down. What is a net force? Definition. The net force is the vector sum of all the forces that act upon an object. That is to say, the net force is the sum of all the forces, taking into account the fact that a force is a vector and two forces of equal magnitude and opposite direction will cancel each other out. In this picture, you will see the object. You see the arrow is going to the left. Is a strong force that the arrow is going to the right. The net force will be the difference. The net force will be to the left. Why is going to the left? Because it is a strong force. The forces are going to the left. Examples. To the right, you will have 9 newtons. To the left, 10 newtons. They are in opposite directions. Right and left are opposite directions. Then you have to subtract. 30 minus 10 equals 20 newtons. To the right is the net force. Another example. To the left, you will have 50 newtons. To the right, 80 newtons. They are in opposite direction. 50 minus 50 is 0 newtons. The net force is 0. Now you will have another problem. A rope is attached to the block that has a weight of 120 newtons. When the rope exerts an upward force of 250 newtons on the block, what is the net force on the block? A, 130 newtons up. B, 370 newtons up. C, 130 newtons down. D, 370 newtons down. Tip: free body diagram is a graph that is showing all forces are acting in the object. In order to solve this, you have to graph and you have to make a free body diagram. You have to see if the forces are in opposite direction, you have to subtract. If the forces are working in the same direction, you have to add. This is my solution. The answer is A. Why? The rope has a 20 newtons of weight, down gravity. Then minus 120 newtons. The rope upward force is 250. Up, it is the normal force. Then positive 250 newtons. Finally, 200 50 newtons minus 120 newtons equals 130 newtons up. The wave force always works down because the effect of the gravity. The normal force always are work up. It is a positive. The net force is the difference between both forces. What is universal gravitation force? Newton's law of universal gravitation states that any two bodies in the universe attract each other with a force that is direct proportionally to the products of their masses and inverse proportionally to the square of the distance between them. This is the formula. Force G is the factor m1 is the mass of one object times the mass of the second object divided by the distance r2 squared. Mathematics analysis of the formula. Direct proportional, the masses of the object. They are in the numerator and or in multiplication. That means more mass, more universal gravitation force. Indirect proportional, the distance between the objects are in the denominator or in division. Then is inverse proportional. More distance, less universal gravitational force. Now you have the question number 5. A student researched Jupiter and Saturn and record the following information. Jupiter is about half the distance to the Sun, and Saturn Jupiter is about 3 times more massive than Saturn. Based on this information, which of the following can be concluded about the gravitational force between this planet and the Sun? Tip: the universal gravitation force is direct proportional to the masses and indirect proportional to the distance. More masses, more attraction. More distance, less attraction. You have to find out your answer. My answer is C, because Jupiter has more mass than Saturn, and it has less distance to the Sun. Jupiter is more close to the Sun, less distance, more force. Is indirect proportional because the distance is indirect proportional. Also, Jupiter has 3 times more mass than Saturn. More mass, more forces. The gravitation formula instant. More mass, more universal gravitation force, direct proportionally. Less distance, more universal gravitation force, indirect proportional. You have to see the formula. The masses is on top. That means it's in direct proportional. The distance is under the line. It's in the denominator. It is in indirect proportional. Indirect proportional, that means in opposite. More distant, less force. What is a frictional force? Friction is the force resistance, the relative motion of solid surface. Always the friction force works in opposite direction to the motion force. You see the friction is going to the left. The motion is going to the right. Question number 6. The diagram below represents a block sliding across a table at a constant speed. All forces are shown exert the frictional force. What is the magnitude of the frictional force on the block? A. 0.8 newtons. B. 1.6 newtons. C. 1.7 newtons. D. 2.5 newtons. Tip: when appear the motion force, immediately appear the friction force, but it is running in opposite direction to the motion force. You have to check the force are acting on the object. You see 2.5 newtons up, 2.5 newtons down. They are in opposite direction. They cross out. The net force will be 0. The motion force is 1.7 newtons to the right. Then you have to find out the friction force. My answer is C. Looking the horizontal force, we see 1.7 newtons to the right. It is the motion force. The friction force that will appear to stop the object will be 1.7 newtons to the left in opposite direction. What is a distance? Distance is a numerical description of how far apart objects are. You see the picture. The distance between these 2 points are the red line. What is a displacement? A displacement is the shortest distance from the initial to the final position of the point P. In the picture, the displacement will be the line that is connecting point A and point B. It's a linear is the displacement. Now you have to solve the question number 7. A person ran 6 kilometers north. 1 hour later, she ran 6 kilometers south. Which of the following statements describe the person's complete trip? A. The displacement is 6 kilometers. B. The distance traveled is 12 kilometers. C. The distance traveled is greater than the displacement. D. The displacement is greater than the distance traveled. Tip: distance is the total distance traveled. Displacement is the linear from the final position to the origin. Check your answer. What will be your answer? My answer is C. Why? The person was running to the north 6 kilometers and back to the south 6 kilometers. The distance traveled is 6 kilometers plus 6 kilometers, 12 kilometers. By the person returning to the initial position, then the displacement is 0. The distance traveled is 12 kilometers and the displacement is 0. 12 kilometers is greater to 0 kilometers. Then the answer is C. What is a centripetal force? It is the force that is necessary to keep an object moving in the curved path, and that is direct inward toward the center of rotation. See the picture. The person is holding the vector, the centripetal force, to the center, and the object is going around in circular path. Question 8. The diagram below shows a ball tied to the string. A student is swimming the ball in the horizontal circle. If the student releases the string, in which direction will the ball travel? A. Direction W, B. Direction X, C. Direction Y, D. Direction Z. Tip. Centripetal force pulls the object to the center. When the centripetal force is released, the object takes a linear motion tangent with the circle. Check your answer. See the graph. My answer is B. The direction is X, Y. Observing the direction of the ball's motion when it is attached to the centripetal force. It will run in circular motion, but when it's released, the object will take the direction X because it is free and tangent to the circle. What is motion? In physics, motion is a change in position of an object with respect to time. You see the picture? The car is slowing down. The blue car, the car is speeding up. The graph below represents the motion of the object over 4 times interval. W, X, Y, and Z, over which time interval is the object moving the faster. Interval W, interval X, interval Y, interval Z. Tip: observe the graph to find the more distance traveled by the object. Check your answer. My solution is A. The interval in the interval W. Observing the graph, the object has the same time interval. In the interval W, the object has the faster motion because it is long. Then the answer is A. Determine the weight in newtons of 12 kilograms. Show your calculation units and your answer. Each kilogram has 10 newtons. Like to that. Two hands. Two hands has 10 fingers. Each finger represents 1 newton. 10 newtons times 12 is 120 newtons. Determine the acceleration of the box if its weight 8 kilograms and the force applied is 5 newtons. Show your calculation and include units in your answer. Data. The force is 5 newtons. The mass 8 kilograms. The formula: force is equals the mass times the acceleration. Then the acceleration will be the force divided by the mass. The application: 5 newtons divided by 8 kilograms is 0.63 meters second squared. Then the answer, the acceleration of the box will be 0.63 meters per second square. Now we will start the open response questions. A student leaves school and walks south, arriving home after 30 minutes. The distance between the school and her home is 1,500 meters. At home, the student realized she left a book at the school. She walked back, arriving at the school 30 minutes later. A. Determine the student's average speed as she walks home. Show your calculation and include units in your answer. Data. The time is 30 minutes. The distance is 1,500 meters. The average speed is the question. Formula: average speed is the distance divided by the time. The application: average speed will be 1,500 meters divided by 30 minutes, 50 meters per minute. B. Describe the difference between the student's average velocity walking home and her average velocity walking back to the school. When the student is walking from his school to his home, is going to south. When the student is back to his school, he changed the direction of his speed, going from south to north in opposite direction. Calculate the total distance the students walk. Show calculation and include units in your answer. First, the student walked from the school to her home. She covered 1,500 meters. Second, she back to school covering the same distance, 1,500 meters. Finally, she walked the total distance of 3,000 meters. Determine the final displacement of the students. Explain your answer. Displacement. The student walked from her school to home, 1,500 meters. Then the student back to her school. She walked in opposite direction, 1,500 meters. She back to the same position. Then the displacement is 0. Homework. Search the internet to find out the definition of electricity, types of electricity circuits, example of voltage, ampere, and resistance. You have to present one page of your written report at the beginning of the next class on Friday, March 6, 2015. I will grade your work. Thank you very much.